But our next guest, Charles Elson, served as vice chair of the American Bar Association's Committee on Corporate Governance. He's been an expert witness in cases of corporate governance too for decades. Now, he filed 2 influential briefs arguing against Musk's pay package. As a result, he had to resign as a consultant for the law firm Holland & Knight, which represented Tesla on occasion too. Holland & Knight has denied that it was pressured by Tesla to part ways with Elson. Tesla has also denied that it bullied the law firm, saying that it was raising a potential conflict of interest. Now, CNN has reached out to both Tesla and the law firm and has not received a response as yet. And Charles Elson joins us now. Wow, Charles, it's a little complicated. I want to hone in first on your objections to this pay packet, because this is crucial for today. If this is signed off by the shareholders, and I know you'll argue it matters how many or what proportion did, will it be a frustration for you? Because you did argue back in your initial brief back in 2023 that Elon Musk's interests are already aligned with shareholders based on the sheer size of his holdings in Tesla stock already. He doesn't need more.
Exactly, that was the point. In other words, an award to a CEO is designed to incent them, to reward them for past performance, and incent them. That was what this is all about. But giving someone another significant slug of the company, 10, 15%, et cetera, to someone who already had 20%, doesn't have incentive, in my view. That their incentive is already there, given the fact they own so much of it. In other large companies, where you've had the sort of founder there, with large holdings, they take very little, $1 a year, whatnot, because their incentive is to create the value of their investment in the company. It's about the most direct form of capitalism you could come up with. And in this one, it was the judge found, I think correctly so, that because of that, it was not an incentive, it was effectively a gift. And that's okay. Companies can give money away, but there has to be unanimous shareholder approval to do it. Why? Because Delaware law, and hopefully law of many states, protects investors, protects minority investors too. And you can't give someone's money away without corporate purpose unless unless they assent to it. And if you don't, you ultimately put the whole system at risk. This is much bigger than Mr. Musk. The idea is that if a minority holder feels that their money is given away with no corporate purpose, the next time they may not invest. And I think that this really would stifle capital investment. If you didn't need their money, why did you go to them to begin with? And I think that that's the point that the Delaware judge was trying to make. And I think that's really the bigger story here. There's a lot of noise floating around about this case, awful lot of noise, but really comes down to that very simple fact. If it's a gift, then you've got to get everyone's approval. If not, then the majority does rule. But she found that it was a gift, and that's the issue here.
So to your point then, what we're looking for today is a unanimous shareholder decision, whether this is a payout or a pay package or a gift under Delaware law, as you're arguing. If it's unanimous, then that's okay. But it does mean, in your view, in the second brief that you filed, that this does mean a shift in position, at least in Delaware law, and it opens up this suggestion that big decisions, including enormous billions of dollars worth of gifts perhaps, can be given without every shareholder agreeing. So in some ways, if you're a very small shareholder in this company, you kind of don't get a say because the majority rules. And that's what you're fearful of beyond the Musk and Elon and Tesla situation.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, that's the whole point. I don't think it's going to be unanimous. We've already heard from a number of investors who said they're not going to vote in favor of the package. In fact, it's difficult to ever get unanimity in a large corporation. That's why companies are very careful when they created a compensation package that it, in fact, has the rational incentives to it that are necessary. Now, if there's an incentive to it and it really works, yes, a majority can approve it. But because it had business purpose, the problem here is the judge found that it didn't. And you awarding yourself massive amounts of equity by a board that the judge found was not independent of Mr. Musk. The judge found effectively he was negotiating with himself. The board is there to protect and all the investors, not one or two, everyone. And she found that they failed. And I think that's really the issue here. I don't think he's going to walk away from a 20% or investment in the company, though it's now down to, I guess, about 13%. My gosh, that's an enormous amount of wealth. Is really going to walk away and say, "Oh, sorry, I'll let that go down the drain"? I don't
Well,
think so. That's
that
the
goes to
point.
your point about the fact that his incentives are already aligned with shareholders because he is one. What about the fact, very quickly, that we had an investor there saying, look, he hit the milestones, he deserves the money. The fact that you have stakeholders in a company, you have workers, and if they don't like it, they can resign. You have consumers, if they don't like it, they can not buy your products. And if investors don't like it, they can sell the stock, quite frankly. They don't have to sit there and be marginalized, even to your point. And what we saw today, actually, was the share price rising 4% on the belief, as Elon Musk said, that he got the pay package. What if the majority of investors just want him there and think he's owed the money, Charles?
I would again disagree. Protection of the minority is really critical. And in fact, if it was vetted correctly, if there was appropriate disclosure, and there was, in fact, an incentive, that might have been a different story. But when it becomes a gift, that's something no one bargained for. And I think that that's really the key to it. Listen, there are certainly people, I think, who think he's terrific. And he's been very creative and very entrepreneurial and done some amazing things. But no company is based around one human being. You know, we have a vice president of the United States in the event that the president becomes incapacitated. Every business should think about what happens next, and to build an entire company around one person when a company should be going on indefinitely, at least the shareholders expected that when they bought into the stock, is, I think, on the board's part rather foolish. I would not have agreed with that particular approach. You can't build something around one human being. There has to be accountability, and that's what's missing in this package. And that's, I think, ultimately a real problem for that company. They're going to have to live to that point.
I think the Tesla share price also argues to your point that you get the good and the bad with a leader like Elon Musk. Very quickly, can I ask you, just for completeness, about your resignation from the law firm? Do you feel like you were treated unfairly, and that this was a case of a law firm choosing between someone who's got many years of experience in the field and a law expert and a monster corporate relationship? It wouldn't be the first time.
That's a good question. Look, I've been there 30 years. I enjoyed my association with them. I wish them the very best. But I had a choice between, obviously protecting their economic interests, which is important to them, and I understand that, and more importantly, protecting my academic integrity. And in the end, I had to protect my integrity, and they protected their economic interests. And that's the way sometimes the system works. I might have reacted differently than they, but that was the decision they made, and I thought leaving would solve their problem. They could keep the client, and it would solve my problem. I could keep my academic integrity, because I think this is an issue that goes way beyond Elon Musk. As a lifetime academic, I think that's what we do. We advocate for effective reform. I couldn't have won.
Yeah, and you stood by your principles on this point. Charles, good to chat to you, Sarah. And of course, they're welcome to pass comment and send it in to us whenever they choose. Charles Elson, thank you for talking to us, sir. We appreciate it.